welcome to this film about the Lehigh Valley. Where is the Lehigh Valley, I hear you ask? Well, it's in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a state on the eastern side of the United States and was one of the first areas to be settled by the Europeans in the early 18th century. The Lehigh Valley is on the eastern side of the state and was originally inhabited by the Lenape Indians. We'll hear a bit more about how they were treated later on. The Lehigh River runs through the valley. It's 109 miles long and it's a tributary of the greater river, the Delaware. And there's some English history trivia which lets us know how the Delaware actually got its name. This is Anne Boleyn, Henry VIII's probably most famous wife, and this is her sister Mary, who was also a mistress of Henry VIII and also of the aptly named King Francis of France. However, she eventually settled down, and her great-grandson was this man, Baron de la Warre, pronounced Delaware. He was the first governor of the province of Virginia, and the river and the area took its name from him. So much for English history. Now back to the Lehigh Valley. The Appalachian Mountains run for about 2,000 miles down the east side of America. Part of this range that runs through Pennsylvania is known as the Pocono Mountains. This spectacular area encompasses lakes, valleys, mountains, forests, and is a very popular destination for tourism and recreation. The area has numerous resorts offering many activities such as sailing, skiing, fishing, and of course there are many opportunities for walking and hiking in the area. So the Lehigh Valley is situated in a very convenient position, equidistant from New York and from Philadelphia. In 1681, King Charles II gave a huge tract of land to William Penn, one of a number of Quakers who had been buying up land in eastern America. Originally, he was going to call the area New Wales, and then he decided on the name of Sylvania, referring to the fact that 90% of the area was covered with woods. However, in honour of Penn's father, Admiral Sir William Penn, to whom the king owed debts of honour and of money, it was decided that the name of the area should be Pennsylvania. On the death of William Penn, his son Thomas became proprietor of the Pennsylvania area. In 1751, he had married Lady Juliana Fermor, and when a year later a new town was being founded in Pennsylvania, he asked for it to be called Easton, after the part in Northamptonshire, England, where his wife's family held land and property. This is Easton Neston in Northamptonshire. Meanwhile, Thomas was consolidating the European hold on the area, which had been the traditional home of the Lenape tribe of Native Americans. William Penn had forged good relations with the Indians and treated them very fairly. Thomas, however, was quite different, and he cheated the Lenape out of their lands by means of a deal called the walking purchase. The upshot of this was that eventually the Lenape tribe had to leave their homelands. The name Lehigh is an anglicised version of the Lenape word Lehigh, meaning a place where there is a fork. And Easton is situated on the confluence of the two rivers, the Lehigh and the Delaware. Its position made it an ideal transport hub, firstly by river, and then after the Industrial Revolution took hold with canals, and finally, of course, with the railways. Coal and anthracite could be brought down from the mines in the north and then sent on to the large cities of New York, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. These older photographs show the juxtaposition of the various modes of transport over the centuries. This continues today, with the road network providing much of the transport, and it means that the area still retains its preeminent position as a transport hub, with many different companies either setting up factories there or distribution centres. Some companies, of course, have stopped trading or have moved elsewhere. Bethlehem Steel is one that now no longer exists. And Dixie Cups, the largest manufacturer of paper cups in the world, have moved to new premises elsewhere. After some expensive pollution scandals, Pfizer moved out not only of Easton but out of chemicals and into pharmaceuticals, where they actually seem to be making quite a success of it these days. Easton has some important historical connections. It was one of only 3 towns where the original Declaration of Independence was read out loud to the populace in July 1776. It is also said that the town's flag is the original Stars and Stripes, predating the Betsy Ross version by almost a year. There is, I think, still some argument over this point. In 1735, William Allen purchased some land from Thomas Penn, and some 30 years later laid out the plans for a town which he was going to call Northampton Town, but eventually was called Allentown. Allentown is the largest of the cities in the area, and after a period in the doldrums when it became an overspill for some of New York City's problems, it has been going through a period of enormous regeneration and revitalisation. Much has been spent on revitalising the city centre with a big programme of cultural and sporting venues and new public buildings. The third city in the area is Bethlehem, founded originally by a Moravian sect and originally for their exclusive use. It became famous as one of the major steel producing towns in the country. However, globalisation and cheaper imports caused major problems for the company, and in 1995, after 140 years, steel production stopped, and in 2005 the company filed for bankruptcy. The site is now home to Steel Stacks, an arts and entertainment district. The old blast furnaces were left standing to serve as a backdrop for the new arts campus. In a rather ironic twist of fate, the Sands Casino has now been sold to the Wind Creek Indian tribe and is now called the Wind Creek Casino. Some reparation for the iniquities of the walking purchase. The rest of the town retains many buildings of historic interest, dating back to the time of the Revolutionary War. The Moravians founded the town on Christmas Day, and as such it has become synonymous with Christmas celebrations. Up the road from Bethlehem, of course, is Nazareth, a settlement that was originally Moravian. It's well known as being the home of C.F. Martin, the famous guitar manufacturers. But my favourite place is this Italian grocer's shop, and it's my favourite mainly for its strapline, which really appeals to my particular sense of humour. Perhaps because of its European heritage, the area has got a huge reputation for top-class educational establishments. The largest in the area is Penn State University, founded in 1855. It is based in central Pennsylvania, but it has a number of campuses, including a very thriving one in the Lehigh Valley. 10 years after that came Lehigh University, which today specialises in postgraduate scientific research. Lafayette College was founded in 1826 and named after General Lafayette, who fought both in the American War of Independence and in the French Revolution. He is a national hero in both countries. Muhlenberg College is affiliated to the Lutheran Church and is named after the man who was its patriarch. Its campus contains Trout Hall, which was the home of James Allen, son of William Allen, the founder of Allentown. Founded in 1742 as a female seminary, the Moravian College is one of America's oldest educational establishments. I was delighted to find out that one of its alumni is Florence Foster Jenkins, who had possibly one of the worst voices ever to record opera. Here is a small sample, but it's quite enough. So much for the world of high culture. Now let's move on to sport. Like all American colleges, the Lehigh Valley has very strong sporting traditions, and the area has its share of sporting heroes. Heavyweight boxing champion Larry Holmes defended his title 20 times and is one of only 5 men to have beaten Muhammad Ali. Mario Andretti is one of America's most successful racing drivers. He's the only man to ever have won the Formula One racing championship and the Daytona 500 and the Indianapolis 500. He also holds records in many other areas of the sport. The area's baseball team is known as the Iron Pigs. They are a minor league team, but they act as a feeder to the Philadelphia Phillies, who are the oldest continuous same name, same city club in American professional sports. They play in the excellent Coca-Cola Stadium, and the games aim to give entertainment to the whole family. I still think baseball is much more complicated than cricket. A little to the south of the Lehigh Valley is Lancaster County, where there is a large community of Amish people. These are followers of Jacob Amann, who broke away from the Swiss Anabaptist communities over arguments regarding matters of doctrine. Eventually, communities were set up in America, primarily in Ohio and in Pennsylvania. The community lives a life that is a deliberate way of separating from the world and maintaining self-sufficiency. Family and community are very important. To a great extent, they don't use electricity. They feel this would link them to the connection with the outside world. A lot of their traditions are still rooted in the 18th century, and at home they speak what is known as Pennsylvanian Dutch, which actually should be Deutsch because it's a form of German. This language is taught in schools, although the children also do learn English. Whilst they do maintain their own lifestyle and traditions, they also realise that there are certain modern practicalities that they do have to contend with in order to maintain their own way of life. Hear now what an Amish farmer has to say about the way things are working out for them.
Our Amish farmers cannot compete in conventional agriculture. 40 years ago, here in the community, we were 90 to 95% farmers. Today, we're at less than 10%. It is making an impact. Some is positive, some is negative. There is only so much farmland available. It's not something that we can make. And we are ourselves part of the problem because there's more of us for the same amount of land. And there's also development pressure from the outside. Land is too expensive to buy, purchase, and pay for farming. So we still have to eat and clothe ourselves and live somewhere. So we look to other places for occupation. The next best thing to being a farmer is having a small cottage business where you work and create things and you still have to work.
And so, many men have turned their hand to making furniture. Excellent rustic furniture, which is very highly sought after. Another great gift from the Amish community to the world has been shoe fly pie. This is a wonderful molasses-based pie in a crust. And it's definitely something that has got to be tried whilst you're in the area. And so, considering until recently I knew nothing about this area, I found it to be full of interesting history, full of beautiful landscapes, and full of great pie.